Nambila, and this presentation is for a special database design class. So for the purpose of this final project, I wanted kind of to put together everything I learned this semester and kind of use a spatial database in the project. And so what I did is I wanted to study if the proximity and the crime severity had an impact on a real estate price. And so to start first, I gathered some data and that I input it into my spatial database, but we're gonna go deeper into that later in the presentation, so we can cover the data first. So these data show the crime and what they happen, and it kind of give you a description on the crime. And so the area of interest is Sao Paulo in Brazil. I just wanted to pick somewhere I haven't worked on before. So on this, you can see the longitude and the latitude and the description of the crime. So when this data was loaded into ArcGIS, it was only showing up as table, but I used a special tool to use the longitude and the latitude and to turn it into XY coordinate that was able to be plugged on the map. And so when I did that, that's how you turn it up. So you can see here is the table, and then here is the table after the XY table point. And the good thing about it is when you click on each point, it will show the information, the description, and the date. So no data will lost into the process. And so the next data that I use for this project is this one, which is a spatial database. And this spatial database in particular was really nice because it shows you kind of the location, the street location, the city where the house is located, the area in meter square, the numbers of room in the house, the number of bathroom in the house, the parking space per vehicle, and the price of the house, which is really good. But the only problem with this data is there was no spatial attribute to it, which was kind of difficult to deal with because there was no other similar data with as much information that I could find out there. And I was just wondering how would I be able to plug it in into my table, my data. And so what I found after doing some research, there's a tool that's called geocode table, which is a tool part of ArcGIS. And so what this tool does is instead of using the X and Y coordinate, this tool gonna compute the street address in this particular, and once it compute the street address, it's gonna use an engine. It's a little bit like Google Earth engine, and it's gonna plug this address in Sao Paulo. And so once that was done, you can see that all the data was able to plug in. And also something that I do is I change the symbology because I didn't really like this one. I want to make it more visually appealing. So I changed the symbology of crime here. So crime kind of look like this one and housing look like this one. And so here already we can kind of see some pattern. So for example, when I look back, right, this house has like a really high price index. We can see that crime are kind of happening far away. But for this one in particular, the price is really low and there's like already three crime that happened around it. And so from here there's a conclusion that can be made, but I feel like it's a little too early. So what I did is I used another tool kind of to understand what was happening better. So what I use is a tool called optimize. It kind of help you optimize the hotspot. And so what I did here is kind of by price analysis, because I wanted to see that, is it like when it's closer to a high income area, is it like more crime, or is it like further from a high income area if there's a low crime? And so the tool kind of took a little bit to load, but it was worth it definitely. And so that's the result that I got. And so blue means that it's low, and red to yellow means that it's high price index. And so, as you can see, right, there's a lot of crime happening around the blue area where the cost is kind of low, but also there's some crime happening to the high area. So that kind of make us wonder, right? Was the conclusion that we made before accurate? Is only crime happening in the slum of Brazil, or does it happen everywhere? After going over my data and kind of thinking why was the reason it was happening, um, I came up to a really interesting conclusion that most of that crime happen everywhere, right? But the type of crime doesn't happen at some location. So low, like let's call it low risk crime, like small crime, like thief, just stealing, right? Happen in the slum, right, where the people will go over, try to steal stuff, But in high area, there's a different type, a high index of living area. There's a different type of crime that happen there. The crime that happen in area with a high price tag tend to be more violent and even use a gun, and which totally makes sense when you study the social structure. So when you live in a slum, right, people around you tend to be from the same social level, which means they don't have as much as you, so there's no much thing to steal from them. So it's true that it might happen a lot, right, but the magnitude of the crime is not that big. But in area where like houses are expensive, there's a lot of wealth, there's like not many crime, but those crime are more violent because people have more things to gain. They can get money, cars, and much more things, which was an interesting pattern that discover without without even going with that mindset. And so once that I was done, I come up to an interesting conclusion that the crime in Sao Paulo, Brazil, is not related to the area, but also to the price of what they can find there. So most price in quantity happen in the slums, right? But the crime where a gun was involved, breaking was involved, people got shot, or even worse, someone got hurt, happened to a price area where the income is really high, which really makes sense. And so we'll take a minute to kind of cover and kind of show some of the finding. So for example, if I go into this map that I made online, even before we get there, let's first look into ArcGIS first. So what we're gonna do is, please give me a minute. So we're gonna open ArcGIS just to kind of go over the data, which I think will be really useful for this presentation. So let me just load my parallel. And so while the parallel load, we're gonna cover something else. So I was able to kind of share these online map that I produced from ArcGIS, and that's also available to you if you want to see it. So it's really interactive, as you can see. And so, like you say, like if you click on the housing here, it's gonna take a minute to load, right? It's gonna show you the housing, how much it costs if you come here at the bottom, right? And then also show you much more things, the area, right? But also let's try to instead of just going to PowerPoint slides, let's kind of cover it, right? Let's pick this crime, for example. What happened here? So it's in Spanish, so we're gonna do a quick translation. Translate. And so we're gonna take this and then we're gonna put it into Google Translation and see what it says. So I always leave my car parked on this street where there are cameras from Banco, like it's like a bank. which is located between the street, and people park car there from a street over to aujourd'hui. Today, uh, uh, the car was taken. So let's see, right? Let's close this, and then let's click. Oh, give me a minute, and let's click on this house, for example, that's located in like in the area. We can see that the price of this is really low compared to other area in the surrounding, right? But you can see that here, like I mentioned before, right, in this area, a car was stolen. But then when you compare the two houses around it, it costs about 2 million of the local currency and about 1.9, 1.8 million the local currency. Do it make sense, right? That oh, a gravity, someone stealing a car will happen in an area where people own a lot of things, you know. But if we try to find, for example, let's find like a slum, you know. This is not the slum, and that's the reason why also I changed this base map, so you can see the housing better, you know, so you can tell which type of housing is here. So let's find somewhere in the slum where crime is likely to happen. Oh, here seems to be the slum, for example. So look, let's click here. Let's see the house price. Still 1 million, maybe a little lower. 5 million. We're getting closer. Oh, here is the slum, definitely. So here, for example, right, you see it's only like half, not even a million yet, right? But see, the crime density, there's like way more crime happening here. So let's find like the closest crime happening from this place. So this crime happened, good day. So let's see. Let's go into Google Translation again. So when we translate it, you say here, an individual tried to kill me to take my cell phone. So here, for example, you can see, right, even though the person used a gun, the only thing that happened is they stole a cell phone. Where comparing in the other area, they stole a car, which tell you again the difference in price, you know. So here it's a online map that's available to anyone, but I wanted kind of to show you what took me to create this online map. So here we're just gonna load my Windows server. Let's It's gonna take a bit, you know, but then we're gonna go back and we can see also I made sure I leave the index, the crime and the housing, like those symbology here, so anyone that see it they understand what's happening, you know, and they can either share it, print it, zoom in. But also something else that they can do is they can change the color if they don't like it. So that's why I wanted to make it more interactive for the person grading and anyone that can see it. So by now, my ArcGIS should be loaded. So we're gonna open it here. So what I did is I published my online map from the desktop version. So I did everything on desktop, and then once I was done, I published it online. And so here, you can see the content. We're gonna wait for the map to load for a bit, but you can see like the content and the histogram of everything that was done online, right? And you can also see, and the reason why I wanted to show it is I wanted to show you my spatial database that's here for my project, you know. I put all my data here, real estate type and everything. And so now that I kind of showed my spatial database, we're gonna go back to the presentation, to the slides where we left off. So that's why it looks like to ArcGIS, but it's just taking a lot of time to load because I'm using a map and it need to be rendering. But that's what it looks like, and the online version is available when you click on this link. And so after that's the online version. And so after this study, I come up to the conclusion that crimes happen anywhere, you know, but the type of crime doesn't happen in the same location. So less magnitude crime, like stealing your cell phone, happen in low income area, but crime with a bigger significance, like stealing a car, happen in area where there's a lot of wealth. And I learned a lot in this class, and I want to thank the teacher and the material, and I hope it was a great presentation. Thank you, and hope you have a great summer. This was Gabriel Nambila for Spatial Database Design.